Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Monday. Back at it again for another week. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, got some rest, had some fun, ate some good food, enjoyed some good company, went on a hot date. Watch some good TV, regular shit. I hope you did it all, or a little bit of everything at some point. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. It's a late one, so you probably won't see this until it posts. Well, obviously until it posts, but it probably won't post for, I don't know, because lately I gotta say the videos have been posting much faster than they typically can. Sometimes they lag, sometimes it's like lightning speed, so I don't know why that is, but in any event, it's not solely that it's absolute that you won't see it until September 10th, but it's possible. So in any event, I hope you had a great day. All right, so let's see what we got here. One more cut. The Eight of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. Ooh, and the Six of Pentacles. Wow, just spilling all the beans today. What's under here since it's peeking out? Let's see. Ooh, and the Ace of Wands. Wow. Hold on. So this is like a faded opportunity for an upgrade, a promotion, so faded and so powerful that although you've worked for it or someone's worked for it at the Eight of Pentacles, it feels like a gift. Like it's given like too good to be true vibes. Like what you've been working toward, maybe even investing in, believing for, focusing on, like focusing your manifestation energy into, to create, to bring to life, it's about to be, well, there's a potential here, depending on, how you resonate with this. But generally speaking, it's coming through bigger than you could have ever anticipated. Like you did put in work for this, but the magnitude of the blessing and the return of that that investment is it's like multiplied, way beyond the activity or the action or ambition or initiative that was taken. To some degree, because of course, like we don't measure ourselves by the same metrics that the spirit does, more or less. And because of our carnal conditioning, what we see as, equal give and take, which is Six of Pentacles, for your work, pay for your work, or hard work and return on your efforts, is pretty, how can I say, like it's skewed and it's limited, quite honestly, because of what we see reflectively what we have experience for, what we're told is possible, and just generally like the laws of physics, so to speak, or the laws of our physical reality. That if you don't work hard, you don't get paid well, or if you don't exert yourself in a certain like in a hyperactive way, then you shouldn't have an expectation for hyper real results or rewards. But there's something here that's like breaking through that mentality, and it's like supersizing your perspective, in that regard, again, between the exchange of work and reward, or work and return, or cause and effect, even, because this is the Wheel of Fortune, which could even be signifying of karma, and this is definitely giving more Dharma vibes right here with the Ace of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune, which could be exactly what we're talking about, even more so, that we are quite used to being ruled, or we're becoming more familiar, as it's become more popularized and trendy to conceptualize the idea of karma, which is a very equal give and take exchange, right? But Dharma is not what we are used to. Like we're not very fluent in that dynamic. Not so much. I feel like this is the breakthrough of getting ready to, or what is happening even now in real time, as people are receiving an overflow and dividends, of which, like I said, they worked for, but they know they ain't worked for it like this, you know what I mean? And as I was saying, like how we measure our exchanges is different by, the divine spectrum, which is great, because that means that we'll always be outdone and what's the right word, like like pleasantly surprised, or astounded to some degree, which is better than being underwhelmed, you know what I mean, especially with good things. But in any event, what I'm trying to get to is that it's something here about breaking. It's not really a whole lot of sword energy, but what I'm just sensing here from this, which is powerful to me, that it peaked out all as it did, is something about breaking the conditioning of karmic containment or limitations, and now breaking through to this ideal of Dharma, and what it truly means and feels like and looks like, and how it materializes in real time, to be experiencing that vibration over what, these days, karma is not even altogether negative. It's just what you put in is what you get out. But the connotation that karma carries is even not the most invigorating, to say the least. It's not something like you're never going to be hyped to work for your karma per se, even though, like I said, it is what it is. We are motivated to not incur bad karma, which even in itself kind of has a negative connotation, or like an inflection, right? But it's something here about Dharma. It's something here about Dharma. And I'm not even too well versed on Dharma myself, to be honest, because that's not what we talk about, day to day. We talk a lot about karma and lessons and equal give and take and cause and effect and reap what you sow type of energy. And Dharma is an reflection of that, but it's also, as I'm saying, it's like a supersize me portion of what you've already invested into the universal order. It's something that you couldn't have worked for. And I feel like, if I can take the liberty to say, I feel like it's beyond even just your lifetime of experience. Like, this is a collective return and reward, perhaps from lifetimes, or something that's being passed down from predecessors of yours that have more or less put in the work to secure this, or to advance it or enhance it, or whatever the case may be. Like, whomever it is that's in the line to receive Six of Pentacles, it really is like a gift. It really is like a gift, because you weren't even, well, I don't know. It depends on how you see things, but I won't say that, because I might be wrong to say that, but I'll say that it's quite possible that the work that was put in to bring this Dharma to its fruition in this lifetime is beyond you. Doesn't mean you're any less important to be the recipient or the beneficiary of it, because it still would have needed a vessel to be passed down unto or through, because it doesn't have to be money. It could even be energy, talents, gifts, abilities, power, influence, whatever it is. It still would have needed that carnal connection to transmit through, which is why you're so special, if you can relate. But it's not just simply on your own merit of work. It may not be, because hell, what I'm holding back is the idea, of which I also don't have the liberty and knowledge to speak on without reservation, is that hell, it could be you that secured this from lifetimes past, depending on how you think or how you believe or see the possibility of regeneration. So it could be you that from, at every cycle of life where you were clearing karma with each lifetime, coming back and working at it again and re-energizing yourself to invest that new knowledge and that new understanding back into the wheel, and so on and so forth. You expire, you come back again. Like, if you can see it that way, then it in that regard, I guess it absolutely is, an honest life's work, or multiple lifetimes work, of which you are certainly due to reap, but worst case scenario, best case scenario, however you may possibly see it, it's you collecting the goods that have been stored up over generations, at least lifetimes perhaps. What is that? Something flying around me? Come on, it's making me itchy. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna put all those back, because nothing, we're just gonna go ahead and start from scratch, which I haven't done in a while. So let's see what we got today with that leading thought and ideal, which is pretty powerful. Like, I would love to stay in that vein, but let's see what else we got. Let's get a nice little pyramid going here. Speaking of pyramids, wow, with the Empress, my God, my God. I'm wondering if anybody caught it's something that what's his name? Forbidden Knowledge is his channel, but I forget his name. Oh, Ben Carson. That's his name. Posted something. I didn't see it from his post directly. I saw someone else reposted that I follow about there being like this like multi-ton sarcophagus that was dug up, a new one, and it didn't have any bodies in it, but it had all these like artifacts, like gold statues of gods that were carved out, and something about like scenes of everyday life that were carved out of gold and stuff like that, and like these strange discs that were made out of some rare material that they couldn't even identify. You know what I mean? So like I don't know why it just struck me to share that. But wait, what did I say? Oh, I said pyramid. That's why. But even still, like, it may or may not even be relevant to this reading, but I just thought that that was pretty interesting. And they best be careful opening up sacred tombs and stuff like that, even, you know, with no bodies or no mummies or whatever in it. There's something that was preserved for. And I don't know. I got a feeling that it ain't nothing to be messed around with. Probably is quite potent. So I wonder if we'll start to experience some shift energetically in the cosmic atmosphere on account of that discovery. Hell, it could be what we're seeing now. Like, well, I mean, not that we haven't been seeing it, but I don't know how old that discovery is, but the post was pretty recent that I saw. But we got California set ablaze right now. We got hella mass shootings, just like, I don't know. Something strange about that energy releasing could be connected. We just never know, quite honestly, right? We never know. But anyway, Empress card. Do we need to say much about the Empress? Probably not much, except that she's on top, at the top of this pyramid, probably where she rightfully belongs. But maybe that's why I'm talking about this at this time. Maybe there gets to be some, well, we know that that's kind of what's happening, like a reestablishment of the balance of power between the matriarch and the patriarch. And a lot of that, I feel, here it is, as I said, like it could be lifetimes catching up in reward. A lot of that could be from ancient times from which women were revered more respectfully, you know, more honorably in power. And a lot of that has been erased from history, not only from any record or account of it, but just the sheer concept and idealism of it all has been erased in the dominance of the patriarchy worldwide. So who knows, like, what that could be emerging. Like, it could be, this is given apology energy with the Page of Cups, that on a small scale and on a very large scale, it's like the matriarch is finally receiving or will be, be receiving the apology, maybe the admiration, the reverence, the flattery in a good sense, if there is such a thing, because that's what the Page of Cups could be also. But certainly some level of like humbling toward the matriarch, that is well overdue. Well overdue. And perhaps in that first beginning spread under the deck, it's about how that's pouring out is perhaps happening in ways where the feminine force is being exalted, and the opportunities of advancement that are coming toward her in a general sense. The change in the shift in the offerings of love and respect and admiration and all of that, more energetic stuff as well, for sure, with the Ace of Wands that we saw, but it also being very tangible too, so this could just be the matriarch really finally up for her just due in many ways and shapes and forms, after lifetimes of struggle just to be equally respected, let alone protected and provided for, or at least given fair opportunity to provide for herself, I mean, we could go on and on and on that, but there's something here about some apologetic energy with the Page of Cups that even still feels a bit small, if you ask me. I mean, it's only the page, which is like, maybe it's coming through clenched teeth, you know what I mean? Like where it could be a small offering to start, where it almost feels like the twist of an arm for there to be some reverence of the feminine energy now. But it's almost like you need to do it, or you have to do it even if you don't want to do it. That's what it feels like with the Page of Cups. It's like, sorry. That type of energy. Like, it doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel deeply sincere. Maybe it's because it's not quite developed yet. It's just the initial, offering, like I said, where it's like, there's a great apology owed here, but you really don't, like, pride will make you not want to give it. So a lot of masculine energies that would, that owe apology energetically to feminine energy in some way, shape, or form may be coming to terms with that that nudge or that insistence or whatever, but it's only just the beginning of that acceptance. It certainly is, it hasn't saturated the being, I would say, just yet to be the most sincere it can possibly be. It almost would even feel a bit like opportunistic, you know what I mean? Or like with the Page of Cups, which is more like a childlike energy to the Empress, where there may even be a bit of a dependency here, like say a child that you don't really want to piss your mom off, so you're going to do whatever you need to do to stay in good graces, even if you don't necessarily want to, submit in some way, shape, or form. This is the person that is raising you, or that's responsible for you eating and living well and having, as I was just having a conversation with my son, having game bucks on all your your games, like game coins and stuff on all your games, which is a damn racket, if I could take a second to say. And that's the conversation I was having with him, as if he cares, really, you know what I mean? But that's the point. It's like, I don't think it's quite sunken in yet, because there's a lack of maturity here. but there at the same time seems to need to be a submission to the power of this feminine force for vitality's sake, you know, maybe even for survival's sake. Maybe the masculine, the patriarch finally, as I said, through clenched teeth for some, coming to terms with the fact that it can't be done without the feminine energy on board and by its side. Pardon me. And I could definitely speak to that in the way of, you know, this year, this election year, but I'll see how the cards play out before I go in, because I really don't feel like going into that, but let's see what we got here. It actually is quite significant in that regard, the way that I'm saying it, but let's see. Exactly. The High Priestess. And let's get one next to her before, let's see what's on the bottom. Wow, and the Ace of Cups. I'm so glad I looked at that. The High Priestess, the Ace of Cups. Yeah. And this Knight of Wands, Knight of Pentacles. That kind of was in a struggle, not enough to really call it, to say it was reversed, but it definitely was a bit sideways. So this could even be a sideways offer, like I'm saying. It's like, yeah, it's like recognizing that the feminine force is vital, more than vital. What's the right word that I'm looking for? Like, it's like it's necessary. There's a word that I can't hear. That's an everyday word, but for some reason I can't hear it. I can't say it, but yeah, like recognizing the power and the influence, especially with that Ace of Cups. And then what's this? Oh my goodness, and the Temperance. That the feminine energy is vital to restoring balance and creation and maintaining it. There's no way to keep this energy out of the power dynamic anymore. Otherwise, everything falters, you know, quite honestly. Like, there's no way to sustain the to sustain the pulse of creation and preserve it for any long-term outlook on the trajectory of patriarchal dominance and outright tyranny that we have been, you know, submitted to up until, you know, most recently. There's no way to sustain. And so there lies the clenched teeth, you know, and gritted teeth, because it's undeniable, you know, especially if all of creation wants to survive, that there has to be a balance of power. And with that balance of power, it's not just a matter of like, oh, okay, come on, y'all, you know, come on in now, or come on up now, and you know, take this seat of power with us. You know, sorry about the last few lifetimes, millennia, you know what I mean? Like ages where we've just pretty much kept you down or kicked you out or abused you and so on and so forth. Sorry about all that. Now come on up, come on in. The water's fine. It's like, no, the balance of creation needs to be first and foremost that the matriarch and the feminine force, generally speaking, gets to reclaim all that's been lost. You know, that's the first point of balance, not just, okay, now we on the even playing field. Just forget about the last thousands and thousands of years, let alone lifetimes. You know, let's just start from this point. We could still keep our seat. Y'all can, you know, y'all could pull up a chair too, wherever you fit in, but no, it's the balance. How the universe works more or less is going to first look like an imbalance, whereas I said it's like the feminine force is being advanced and enhanced at an accelerated rate, and it's just because it's just making up for lost time and lost respect and reverence and just lost liberty, you know, just the natural order of life that should have never have been tampered with, but was. And now that all gets to be restored, redeemed, reclaimed. And the resistance of the patriarch is through really pretty much like the insecurity of where they will still have place and power on account of this surge in feminine energy rising, you know, in a way that can't really be controlled or even monopolized anymore, because it's like the energy has always been there, but the masculine force, you know, the more corrupted, aspect of that force particularly, has always found a way to use it, to siphon it without really crediting it for what it's due, you know, let alone respecting it as, you know, and the value that it brings. It's like almost keeping it a secret from her how important she is, you know, not allowing her to even perceive a glimpse of her true power and influence without it being countered with some resistance of, like projection of powerlessness or inferiority or pretty much those are the main culprits, you know, or lack of value. Oh man, I could go in on this. I really could, but anyway, the Knight of Pentacles, this long overdue offer that could be stable, you know, for the most part, but like I said, it's still just not quite. It's like it's been a long time coming, but first of all, like, who's he offering to? This is my question. Like, the High Priestess is over here, the Empress is up here. So it's still, you know, it's still like it's not quite grasped just yet. Or maybe just not quite accepted. You know, it's a slow burn or a slow process for it to be accepted. How masculine energy gets to align with this new ideal of balance. It's like they're still only willing to give but so much for their own comfort and for their own security, like I said, to share but so much, to give but so much credit, to invest but so much, to offer but so much. It's like it still feels like an infraction on their pride and ego in some way, maybe even in the material sense, afraid of what that means if women surge in power suddenly. Like, how will they fare? Will they still be able to maintain, you know, their independence and stability? Like, if it becomes a woman's world instead of a man's world at first, before again the pendulum swings to the center and there's balance restored, not realizing that they are the prime contributors to that stabilization, because the more resistance there is to the natural evolution of balance, the more imbalance it creates, because it's just, here it is with the karma and dharma. It's just weighting the scale on that dharmic side for the feminine force, and also weighting the karmic debt on the masculine side for his resistance to submit, and submit to universal order, not necessarily submit to the feminine force herself. Just submit to whatever the ordination of power, of the power share and power dynamic has been ordered at this point, or has been decreed. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. But like I said, the more submissive the masculine force becomes, to be able to trust the process, to trust the design of the divine, they'll actually see the favor in it for all parties, that everybody is safe, sound, and secure. No one has to take a hit. Nobody really has to take a cut. There's enough for everyone. And every side, the dualities of nature still have their place, without one having to be less appreciated or more depreciated than the other. Temperance. And it's like the angels, this is Archangel Michael, so it's like you're going to get with it or get lost. There's really no, there's no negotiations on this. And that could be this too, the Knight of Pentacles, like where there's, masculine energy is like wanting to be with the times and evolved, that nobody wants to feel like they're a toxic masculine, or they're what's the word, not sexist, but shoot, what is the word? Is sexism? You know the word that I'm trying to say. What's the word? Misogynistic. There it is. Nobody really wants that label either. You know what I mean? But what it all comes down to is that, there's still some conditionings on both sides that still get to be cleansed for balance to be restored. Because the feminine force gets to settle into her exaltation with, with dignity and with respect, but also void of depreciating the masculine force, because there can be a lot of that going on when we're talking about feminism, and then for those that are being reformed from misogyny, there's still that insecurity piece where you can still be just as much of a man's man as you want to be and be valued in that regard, without having to depreciate the value of a woman, or diminish it in some way. And certainly, like I said, nobody wants that label if you can get around it, but the comforts and complacencies of those concepts are much harder to shake than the what's the right word, than like the pleasantries of them, or the I guess the persona of it, or the appearances of it. So meaning people can do things or present themselves in ways that they seem to be evolved with the times, or even revolutionary in some way, but there could still be a stain, that residue that still remains from old conditioning that is being cleansed, and there gets to be grace for it on both sides, is what I'm trying to say. All right, let's see. And man, that was the Ace of Cups and the Temperance. That's deep. That's a deep cleanse right there. That's like completely flooding creation with love, like love vibrations. Talk about transformative. Because that is, I mean, like I said, it's a lot of talk about that frequency being paramount, but the proof is not yet in the pudding, not holistically, you know. But if as long as it is an intention and a prominent ideal, is as long as it is there is opportunity for that energy to conduct, you know, for it to actually, you know, transmit. Because as I've said many times, what you proclaim, you know, the universe ultimately will challenge you and charge you on. So perhaps it's just the sheer ideal of love vibes and self-care and ascension and the balance of power, the ideal of such, you know, just that, and it just the mentality alone of even what just sounds good, which is holding space for it to actually be so, you know, for the divine to actually conduct itself through that frequency in a way that then does probably become an advanced transformation. So it seems to us, here it is again, because what we're saying and what we're talking, you know, the talk that we're talking, we don't really have a reference point for how that gets to be realized in a carnal form. Not holistically, because it's never been so before, not on this magnitude of conductivity, you know what I mean, of energy, where it's not just a few hippies, you know, saying make love, make war. It almost feels like collectively our souls are calling for something higher than what we've been feasting on, you know, up until this time, which is much more fear than anything. And so although we may not know what we're asking for, you know, and it conducts itself in ways that almost feel invasive and intrusive at times, it conducts nonetheless, which is still better than nothing, you know, which is why I was saying, like, it's like through clenched teeth, masculine energy is having to actually like accept this change, like, you know, grin and bear it type of energy. And even the feminine energy is preparing themselves to accept this exaltation or this advancement in ways that she's not really used to taking responsibility and accountability for. So it's happening because we've called it in. Creation has called it in, but how it then collides with our carnal beings is different than what we can perceive and conceptualize, you know, ahead of time or ahead of that exchange and occurrence, if that makes sense. Ooh, this is in reverse. We love to see it. I'm gonna try to move this up, even though I'm talking my ass off. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to another row, but I'm gonna try. I hate to layer the cards because it's almost guaranteed that they're not gonna be straight, which annoys me. But yeah, Devil in reverse. Definitely love to see that. That's overturning that fear, all that I was just talking about. What's on the bottom? Wow. 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 Talk about, I mean, the Devil in reverse and the Death card, that's just bringing a cycle of fear to its completion. And I would say never to return again in the frequency that we've experienced it for so long. Wow. So that's obsessions, that's addictions, that's scarcity, that's survival mode. That's all the things that we know to be just like, as I said in the very beginning, regular shit, suddenly not being so regular, not being so common, you know, it actually being like the scale tips in such a way where those that are in a certain frequency as dense as what I just mentioned are actually the minority and phasing out, as opposed to it being the vast majority as it seems to be now. Damn, that's the advancement we're on our way to. Shit, though, you know why? Because there is a cleansing, like I said, a deep cleanse that's happening where energies that are not, like I said, through clenched teeth is still better than not at all. But I feel like what this is saying is that the energies that have been insistent upon maintaining this lower frequency and imposing it upon creation, you know, unlawfully, that's the cleanse that's happening. It's a purge. So that's why and then as more and more of that begins to happen, where people are literally being like purged from like from this reality in some way, shape, or form, that's what will accelerate the acceptance and submission to the balance that's being created. Because you're not going to want to be caught up in this frequency here just on account of being stubborn, you know what I mean, and refusing to go with the flow of change. So perhaps that'll be quite persuasive for those that can be persuaded, and for the rest, it's a transitional situation. So that's why it's going to feel like there's a great shift in the dynamic of majority to, which also can speak to that Six of Pentacles card in the very beginning, like the haves and the have-nots. You know, like there's a shift in that population, because those that are not living up to a certain frequency are probably not going to be here very long. And just as we perceive the transmission of energy, you know, and even we perceive the transmission of energy different than what the divine ordains. The same is true for time, right? With the wheel of Pentacles, the wheel of fortune. So how I'm saying it it might not be a matter of, oh, today or tomorrow the planet will be wiped out by 50%. You know what I mean? It may not happen that way, but I can assure you prophetically that that's the trajectory that we're on. It's not going, right now it seems as though like we're almost in jeopardy of evil consuming the planet before we could ever consider that love would, you know. But these cards are even saying differently. I mean, ancient prophecy speaks differently if you really get into it. And I'm perceiving that it's, with that wheel of fortune, is something that is inevitable, but the timing of which that gets to play out, I don't know. Maybe we are literally living in the midst of that time and in that frequency as we speak. And maybe perhaps that's the astounding piece, because it's been something prophetically pronounced for so long, to some degree, that you would never imagine that you in your present body would be bear witness to it, or to perceive it occur in the accelerated and absolute way that it potentially could right before your eyes. I don't meaning, let's say, the next year to 10, you know what I mean? Like it being that fast of a transition. I don't know. That could be the astounding part, and the acceleration and the intensity of it all with between the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups. I don't know, but either way, whatever the time frame is, it'll be in divine timing, and it's with the Wheel of Fortune is destined, it's fated to be so, and it's not anything that can be resisted, particularly from a carnal perspective or even a human perspective. At this point, the wheels are already set in motion. The only thing that I can perceive would be in consideration is how advanced or accelerated it gets to be. And maybe perhaps that is the thing that is kind of within our conductivity as humanity to say, how fast this energy flushes through, and perhaps how delayed it gets to be. Depends on this continued trajectory of love above all that it seems the collective is catching on to like a wildfire. It seems to be. How we continue on that flow might actually be the thing that, again, holds the space for conductivity for the divine to do as it's designed to do so, maybe even faster time than what it anticipated. So, oh boy, I don't know. This is deep. I feel like it's more to be said on this in a more practical way, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have to come back and do it afterward. Yeah, with the Chariot. This is like I've said before, like what did I call them? Oh yeah, well, I mean, it is a thing, the Galactic Federation, but like the Galactic Feds is what I called them one time in a message. But this is that energy here. This ain't just, everything about this is like higher level energy that as above so below, that can actually be reduced down to more practical concepts, which if anybody can do that, I certainly can, but I just don't feel guided to at this time. Like, I feel like it's supposed to be like high-minded transmission on this one. What's on the bottom? Yeah, with the Strength. Ooh, and the Judgment. Wow. Well, that's that on that. Yeah. Damn, what is that saying though? Like, I wish I could express it the way I feel it. Really. The Chariot, well, that's doubling down on will, and strength and like unlimited power, unyielding power at that can't be corrupted. That's what wow, with next to the Devil in reverse, that's what's ultimately defeating this devil energy, like this fear, obviously, duh. That's what is like kicking the devil's ass, is this strong will, this resilience over misfortune, and this determination against all odds, this balance of your spiritual and carnal nature, that part, self-control, and awakening, answering to a higher calling on a very personal level. That's what is holding the space for the crusade in a spiritual sense to dominate and overpower the principalities of this world that have been running rampant up until now, that have literally been overruling in the most diabolical way up until now. So this is really given way to the significance of it's really like highlighting and even exalting humanity in this message. As I've said before, but I feel like it can never go without saying, because as I started in the beginning, our concept of our personal creativity is so limited and so skewed because of our conditioning to feel less than, and then the projection of our worthlessness perpetuates that reality, lifetime to lifetime, generation to generation, and we act out of that that assumption, that personal assumption, so to speak. So again, very karmic minded, karmically conditioned, not to even be evolved enough in many ways to perceive, like we can perceive the concept of Dharma, but of what of it are we privy to almost seems foreign, because we've been so inundated with what we don't deserve, or even in the adverse, what we do deserve because of our wretchedness, that the idea that we deserve anything beyond the limitations of our imaginations even is unfathomable. But for those that have kind of breaking the ceiling on that limitation, which is why the devil's in reverse, even if it's just been a few, it's been enough to activate and initiate these forces that can now work through that conductivity to empower those that much more that have been conducive to it, but also like almost kind of like open the floodgates, like we've been Trojan horses to some degree. Ooh, this is deep. Many of us carrying multiple spirits in our midst, or having the ability to conduct multiple frequencies and energies in our midst that can only truly be activated in the human form through the human vessel. Not because they don't have the power. There's all the power in the world to overturn this frequency here. It was always doomed from the beginning. But to have the open vessels to conduct through, because this is a 3D realm, it's like there needs to be an outlet for these maybe multi-dimensional, or certainly maybe electromagnetic frequencies and currencies, whatever it is that they are or whatever it is, it conducts through the human spirit, through the actual human vessel. And there hasn't been a lot of conductivity because the frequency of the human vessel has been kept so low that there's been no outlet for these powers to surge through. But now, a great deal in part to the feminine energy who has led the charge on the initiative to conduct love at all costs and love above all, even with all that, and really that can only be the one to really conceive of and deliver on that frequency at a very high level, even when there has been a desecration of the womb to do so. Only the feminine energy can take that seed and nurture it in her being and literally alchemize it into a creation that is better than what was inseminated. And you can consider that on all different levels, in a very physical way and on a spiritual level. But that's why it's been important to nurture this frequency here, because this is the key to how we get to recreate or regenerate creation on its highest frequency. And it's already been, it's been preserved in dire straits, thank God, but how much greater and more accelerated could that repopulation truly be if the feminine force is given, is like incubated in the right space and time to do so, protected, nurtured, given freedom and liberty, made comfortable, like all justifiably, not necessarily any more favor than the other, meaning against the masculine energy, but certainly her just due, at least what she is good for, which has not been the case, until now, because thank God that feminine force has stayed strong, stayed resilient, has been the mighty warrior on the front lines of the battlefield, seen and unseen, known and unknown, oftentimes being sabotaged by her own counterpart in some way, shape, or form. Now, the divine, because of this resilience and determination, has been able to filter through her spiritual force. And not to say masculines are excluded, because those that have particularly taken initiative to nurture their feminine force, both sides of their nature are in alignment for this as well, even more so, because then you got the masculine force already innate to you and also the feminine conduit of, a masculine in that energy at this point is unstoppable, and that might be what's represented here with the Chariot card, and it's a slow burn for those that don't see the value in it right now, or like I said, a bit insecure to see what's on the other side of that submission. But this is what's on the other side, the Chariot. This is the other side, which is what I said, like the sooner that they would be willing to, the sooner that they would see that we all win here. There is no loser when we're all playing on the same team. Wow. Let me get one more. I thought I was going to do another row, but I'm not. That's way too many. But the Ace of Pentacles, there's the reward. One more, please, Spirit. Wow, look at this. playing on the same team, and I'm done. And I'm done. New covenant or renewed covenant. How about that? Because it might not be all that new the way that we've been talking, right? This could be ancient agreements and contracts that are being restored, that have either been breached, defaulted, reformed in some unlawful way or unfair way. Whatever the case may be, this is an establishment, a reestablishment or new establishment of a covenant, a contract, an agreement that is fair to all parties. Everybody walks away happy. Everybody thrives, everybody eats, everybody loves and is loved with the Two of Cups. And it definitely speaks to it not being limited to, certainly, like this is, I love that it's the Two of Cups. I mean, the Lovers could be profound in another way, but I love that it's the Two of Cups because it's the range of relationships that stand to be regenerated and reestablished. Platonic, intimate, professional, creative, romantic, all familial, all of it can be reestablished and realigned when minds are on the same accord. And as I said, it's slow to come around, but it's happening. It must. The universe is making sure of that because this is what we need. I mean, certainly the feminine force is powerful, but we both matter together. Because if there is no seed to inseminate, you know what I mean, then what? And the issue has been that there's been plenty of seed and there's been plenty of insemination, but now we're seeing the purification of that seed, which that was the Ace of Wands, the purification of that seed and it being enhanced to its highest quality, so that feminine doesn't have to take in junk and create gold anymore, or be the single mom doing it on her own because she and her masculine counterpart can't quite see eye to eye. Like there's the balance that's occurring. And it doesn't look like that's where we're headed now, but that is where we are absolutely headed. One way or another, it's like creation will insist that it be so. If it got to take everything out in its path that is not in alignment, it will be so before there is a recreation of karmic and toxic cycles that at this point we should have been well past, maybe even lifetimes ago. Perhaps, maybe not, I could be wrong. But if there's an accelerated advancement as I perceive it in the spirit to be, it's on account of the fact that it's been resisted and held back in some unjustified way from it naturally occurring the way that it was originally intended to. So one thing about it is that divine uses all things for good, so even a resistance or a delay is worked into the favor of the greatest good of all. But it's come to a point now where as long as we refuse to settle for anything less and continue to rise to the occasion higher and higher, of that ascended intention, the more the divine can work through that empowerment to advance and evolve creation. and accelerate it up to the speed of which perhaps, you know, it may be have fallen a bit behind or off schedule in some way, if that be the case. Yeah, here's the resistance here. Standing your ground, 7 of Wands for sure. Wow, and here's the advancement. Wow. Wow. This was so good. This was so good. I ain't even gonna say no more. We are the conduits of supreme creativity. All this time we've been thinking that we were waiting on something else to come do something for us, but what we were really waiting on is us to realize that we were the vessels of which that something else could do something through us. Just as co-creative as it is between man and woman is as it is between human and spirit, or man and divine. Humanity and divinity. There it is. Between humanity and divinity. It's a hand-in-hand, collaborative situation. And now when I'm looking at it, what even like still all stands about the feminine force and all that, but a large part of it is recognizing how we are the womb of the divine as the Empress, and how coveted and we are, how revered we are from a celestial perspective, to be the deliverers of divine design in every way, shape, and form. We are highly exalted and raised on a pedestal, so to speak. And it's time for us to align with that perception from the divine as our reality in human form. Like we get to see that mirror effect so that we can continue to be advanced in our own individual identities and capabilities, and that be the enhancement of the inhabitants of this earth. That's the only way it gets to be. If we want to literally continue to evolve the change that would make the world a better place, you know, that it only happens through us, and not in the, you know, not in the hand to the plow type of way where you feel like the world is on your back, like that 8 of Pentacles per se, in the frequency where you feel like there's so much that you have to do, you know, in terms of hard work to make an impact. No, your greatest impact is you doing the work that you love. That's the greatest impact that you can make. That is you conditioning yourself to be a conduit of the most divine powers and frequencies that exist beyond limitation, and yet somehow can be harnessed through this limited dimension as it is. And there's more I could say on that. This is something. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.